Yo, yo. All right. Well, NQ, 1,300 points sell off. Yeah, I don't know if you had that on your bingo card, congratulations. I sure did not. I was, it's funny, I'd been talking all week, even previous weeks, but mainly this week, and I think end of last week about being ready for there to be a sell day. But again, I'm imagining it's going to start from New York. So I really hate when the sell just continues in New York, where essentially it's Asia high a day, then London, then New York just is like the bottom out almost. Whenever that happens, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but for any perma bears out there, that's not really what you want to see for any type of top. You want to see a capitulation from the top during New York and then just to sell. You don't want to see essentially just continued selling every session and then New York just exacerbates it and then just drops off. This just turned into like whatever you want to call it, liquidation event. There's theories that for the IPOs coming up that funds need to free up some cash for SpaceX for when they're kind of forced to invest essentially through the NASDAQ allocation. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know too much about that or the intricacies that may be true, but either way, I know from an options perspective, we're in big negative gamma territory. So when we're in negative gamma, that is dealers are hedging with volatility. So they are essentially buying highs and selling lows. So whichever the market breaks, it can just run like that when we're in big negative gamma territory. So we had flipped a wall that was I think like 756 wall on SPY. So and after that it was just sells all day. There was just any attempt by a buyer was after I want to say 8 a.m. There's an attempt right in the morning, which I did. I did try to take on ES. I took 75. It was 75.20. I saw it was 75.19 for me, but I saw a big buyer come in. Basically, I saw something right at open that is usually pretty reminiscent of a reversal. So I did start to like it, and it made sense they would try and hold it from there. But yeah, look at this deep in the negative on the delta, and 4 candles in the row, green finishing positive. So that is just essentially absorption on each way and aggressive pushing up. So that became, and then you see this big buyer trying to defend 530 lots at 75.20. This became the pivot for me for the day. Once we lost that, I was like, okay, sells are on. Basically, what I talked about yesterday, prior video, I don't know if it was yesterday or what, but I'd said, I was looking for. I had some levels that I was like, buyers might try and defend, but I wasn't too confident on it. I said really what I was looking for to be low a day was 30,040 area. And unfortunately it just ran through it. And there was some signs initially too. Number one, out of Asia, we just straight started dumping towards that level. If this was really going to be some type of NFP low of the day or whatever, and we were going to stay inside range, I wouldn't want to see that. I already didn't like it. I was kind of vocal in the Discord about it, but I didn't like that we're spending so much time near that level. That's not what you want to see. You don't mind seeing that in London, maybe. Asia stays up here, chop, and then London dips down maybe, and then we take one more stab at it in New York, and then we revert back into the range. But instead, we just stayed really low and dug into it. And if we kind of go down on the time frame here, I really didn't like seeing this into open. There was guys talking to me, asking me about that level. I was talking mainly about 30.0, I think 18 it was. I was like, that is going to be kind of my attempt, and it hit actually, I think just pre-market. It was like, it hit it like just 5 minutes pre-market. So, there was just a little bounce, immediate rejection, and I didn't like that, and I was out. And then I just waited, and then when it went lower, below this TR pocket, that is like danger zone. Because when I've said this in videos before, when the TR pocket fails, that is your indication that you are about to trend further. That is kind of your last ditch, kind of you sweep lows, or on the flip side you sweep highs, whatever. So in this case we're sweeping lows, and you'd want the TR pocket to hold it inside the range. So once that fails, there's a good chance that the trend's going to develop. And I was still hopeful. I was still having trouble accepting the fact that we might just continue to sell, considering we left all these highs up here and New York was selling the bottom. I just always feels wrong to me, I think, when that happens. If it's going to be like if we've experienced some type of top, in this case, I think we're actually probably finding a short-term bottom soon, and we're going to be revisiting these highs not too long, but I'll talk a bit more about that. Yeah, so we just crashed through there, and then when I saw 7500s trying to defend on ES, I was like, okay, this is the last chance. Sometimes you'll see this TR pocket fail briefly, and then it'll come racing back up, and it made an attempt and then just nothing, especially on NQ. I don't know where the TR pocket lined up for ES, but so didn't even get up there to retest, and instead just kept dragging lower. So at that point, I just became a seller. Once ES failed that level, because to me, that was like an aggressive buyer really trying to hold price there. And that was probably lined up with the gamma wall. And then once that flipped, it was just over. And then we just started trending sells. So then after that, I just looked for some sells to take advantage of to try and catch a trend. Did I predict that it was going to go nearly as far as it did? Absolutely not. Here, I'm just showing you. Still able, still very green for the day. Pretty happy with that. Obviously, when you see something, the NASDAQ run 1,300 points, even one micro would have been more than double this. But hey, there's a lot of traders. I think that today we're trying to catch the falling knife, because in their mind, again, this is how they get you sometimes. In their mind, they're trying to long to London highs. That's their target. On a typical day, that would, probably work. But on days like today, when there's going to be a big sell, it's just they catch you and you're trying to catch falling knife no matter what. And there's pretty much, after that, a lot of proof on the tape that buyers were just not in control at all. Delta's staying pretty negative. You don't see Delta really climbing at all. It just stayed negative. We're deep in the negative. It didn't really climb much. And then, you see some big buy attempts. I'm looking at ES right now. It's the same thing for NQ. You'll see buyer attempts at almost every turn trying to, catch this fall. But when you see these sells coming in here, look at NQ really started to waterfall after I lost 800. Big sells in here, and then they don't even get retested. So then we're just coming down, and any attempt you see by buyers just gets absolutely ran through. They'll buy there, hold up, and then retest immediate down, and then, never again. And just down, down, down. At that point, we're hitting the golden pocket, right? I think that was, 400. So 484 was the 0.618. So that was, I was kind of mentioning some levels that I thought might hold. I think I mentioned on X, I was like, 830 on NQ, 75.20 on ES, and then that just absolutely failed. And after that, I didn't feel comfortable saying anything for longs on there. I didn't want to be responsible for anyone taking the level and then losing money, because at that point, once that broke, that was it. I just didn't have any confidence in buys anymore. I was like, it's all sells. Kind of, you just find your retest here and wherever you can, and then just try and get in with the sells and then just ride the wave. This was definitely, for the amount that it sold, this is when it really kills you to be too overly sized. You can just literally 2-3 contracts max micros, and you're making really good money, especially if you're copy trading. So there's no need to size anywhere up along here, because the swings were so large. These swings are 100 points that you're getting sometimes. So that can just absolutely wreck people that oversize normally. So what are we looking at basically going into next week? Well, like I said, traditionally when you see a top that not even a top, I guess, the top was up there, and there was some signs too. I was kind of disappointed on Thursday. It was it was kind of there on ES, and I kind of ignored it. Where was it? Right here, Thursday top, I believe. Right here. So at the top, I mentioned too in the previous video, I didn't talk about it too in depth, but a lot of size up here, a lot of big buys trying to push higher above 7,600, getting nowhere. We're seeing, look at that, like 1.4K positive delta here, and barely crawls up 3 points. Like, that's nothing. And then we just see here, like, look at these the highs here, nothing. And sellers just take control. This is right into close, and then it just fails from there, and then never comes back up to retest. 7,600, that was it after that. So clearly there was a seller in here that knew what was up, and they had a plan to just dump the market the next day. There was a lot of big size that got rejected on the buy side, and then sellers just took control from there. So it was nice just to see, the bears out, just to see them take control of the market. Whoever it was, the deal essentially was that there was the jobs report, and I know Trump was saying, "Oh, good jobs report. Why stocks should be going up, not down." I don't know if he's being intentionally naive there, but yeah, the thing was the jobs report was too good. There was too many jobs added. We added about double the amount of jobs that were expected, 172K versus expected 85K. So that's too hot. That's not good for if you're wanting to cut rates for the Fed. That just means the economy is running too hot at based on those numbers. So cuts are definitely further off than the market had them currently priced in, and then on top of that, you factor in some inflation that's just getting hotter and hotter, and now you possibly have rate hikes on the table. So I think the market is also possibly pricing that in, and because that's really what it was. There was no really foreshadowing on options. These are today, but yesterday there was no foreshadowing on options. There was actually a couple bullish prints on options. Nothing huge. It was like 200K, nothing in the millions at all. It was pretty flat. And I think that was on, it's pre-NFP, so no one wants to be too bold on that. If anything, people are just hedged both ways. But yeah, so that was a true, the data got released and the market just, it was like, oh, that's not good. Oh no, that's actually really not good. Oh, it felt like the more the market really digested the numbers, the more they started to be like, oh, this could be really bad. And then it just turned into a bit of a panic sell. Whenever you have a 5% sell off, that was on the NASDAQ. YM was just 1.5, and ES was 2.5. But yeah, whenever you see a 5% sell off like that on NASDAQ, there's panic in the market at that point for sure. There's some extra selling going on. CBD relatively flat, honestly. New York really sold essentially for the first bit, but for that last bit, if you look at the CBD here, right, show it, kind of stayed flat for that last little sell off here. So we actually, I think we see, we're finding somewhat close to a bottom there. So that was very interesting. Let's see that size at the end of the day. I don't think it's anything too crazy. There's definitely some buys there. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, on NQ, that's a lot. You do not see 500 lots on NQ so often. Usually the sizable lots are like 100, 150, 200 max. So that's big size right there. They're obviously betting on, a bounce from there, or maybe that was just them capping the day there. We were getting near the lows, so that could just be protecting those. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, CBD really flat for that last little bit of the sell-off where there was still aggressive. The market price was coming down aggressively, but, CBD was not matching it. So a lot of passive buying in there, aggressive market selling. So we'll see. But I think, like I was saying, and just when the sell happens like that, when New York essentially gets is third in line for the sell at the end of the day, to me that is they're finding a bottom. And we actually are. I had to try and map this out just to try and be like, what can I use to project these levels here from a standard deviation standpoint. So I took this last kind of significant swing low. This was low of week. I guess that was not low of week now, but at the start of the week. So I took that last major low here on Monday. I took it to the high on Wednesday. This is where, zoomed out, right? It's on the 15-minute, but important kind of low to high right there for sure. And yeah, I see actually, obviously sellers were in control, so you're not really going to see much. It was a complete sell-off today, but it's just nice to start to see some of these levels. We're on a larger time frame now, so I'm not going to expect it to be super precise around here. But yeah, 2 standard deviation gets a little reaction. Then the 3 standard deviation being in the golden pocket, it was kind of close to that, not quite. 3.5, there we're starting to get some more reaction, and then we finish kind of right around the 4. So I do like that. That is very interesting to me. And then we do have tied in here from this kind of last initiative move, we have the value area low here, lining right up with that POC at essentially 515, I think. Let's really zoom in here. Well, the POC is at 532, value area low, 515. Let's just, yeah, it's still about the same at 517. So in between 532, 517, that's interesting to me. It's also interesting it is just past the 4.5 standard deviation. So I'm going to be eyeing up this level to hold. If that level doesn't hold, then I'm looking at these POCs down here, the 28-100s, yeah, and looking at this TR pocket right here at 28-084. So these are the levels that I care about. Essentially this pocket right here from, I would say, 515 up to, I can take that down a little bit. Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good area to look at. It's not super large, so I'd look for a good reaction 515 to 540-ish, that area. Give or take, 5-10 points on either side. And yeah, if that fails, or considering the size that came in the lows here, if we see a really sizable large reaction from this 4 standard deviation where it finished at 28, essentially 820, I guess. If we see a sizable reaction, we actually revert quite high back up. I might count this deviation road path as like finished, and then we might actually, to come up, reject 29,300. There's the bottom of that golden pocket there. Reject like 320-ish area, somewhere around there, and then, or 350, and then reject, and then come down to this TR pocket. If we do not see any type of big bounce right from this level, and then we continue to melt down to that level that I was talking about, the 515, 515 to 530, then I'll look for a good reaction there. Obviously, I want it to hit at a certain time. Either we're thinking Sunday Globex, that's possible. So right at open, we see kind of a sell right down into there. I'll take that long if I see buyers on the tape. If we instead just kind of chop and then we get, Asia kill zone maybe, or London kill zone, any of the kill zones, I'll take it if I see buyers appear right there. That is, that situation for that. Otherwise, yeah, like I said, I would, let me just pull out the brush here. Yeah, so come down, either right at open on Sunday or any of the kill zones going into Monday. If we just kind of let's say we just chop, God, that looks horrible. Let's say if we just chop kind of and then come down, I'll take that long for sure. But if we, from there actually just kind of V-shape up almost, and then retest this 350 area, then I'll look for it to make its final move maybe down to this 28-100 area, 28-070 area-ish. 28-080 is the top of that TR pocket. So anywhere in there, kind of. Then I'll look for, then I'll look for longs out of there. This is, I don't know. I think I don't like the fact, and I guess basically on here too, this larger time frame TR pocket, this is actually the top of it, lines up, this. So I was initially from way back, it feels like way back, it was a month ago or something, I don't know. I was looking for a rejection right in here, and then we saw a minor rejection, then it just shot right over. So that showed me okay, we're still longing for a little bit. So now that we're coming back into it, your bullish scenario is going to be actually this area holding. Oops. You want to see this area hold and then push higher. That is right away going to tell me if we are continuing higher, or at least retesting these highs and then coming low, or continuing higher and then taking off, or if we're going lower. Just the way this market's been acting, it seems to be the, what do you expect the least? And sure, it really got us. NFP, hot jobs report, probably confused a lot of traders at the start, thinking good jobs report, why would there be a sell-off? And they're continuously thinking that there's going to be a bottom to long to the highs or to London highs or whatever. So yeah, a lot of people caught off guard today. I luckily just had a level that, I knew if it flipped. I had 2 levels. So after the second level flipped, I flipped completely, and I was with sellers, and that luckily got me a nice green day. But other people, I think, just not so experienced and, newer to trading, and they're just constantly looking for levels. They're looking for a reverse all the time. But when you see a trend like that, don't catch the falling knife. That's the oldest rule in the book. So yeah, you look for 73.50 to hold on ES. That would be very crucial, honestly. Matches up with the value area low there, so that's a nice little zone in there. Essentially, let's zoom in here. I mean, I'm fine if it comes anywhere in here, then scoops up and takes off. But even better, if it just really quickly dipped into here, 7346 to 7351, anywhere in there, that would just be hilarious if it just was like just a quick down up and then just gone, and it just didn't revisit those lows for a little bit. Then we actually work our way back up, because now that we've done this, I would say, I don't know, 60, I'm kind of guessing here, but just from what I can tell, I would say definitely over half of my X feed is like, that was the top. They're like, top's in, this is done, this whole how's the cards going to crumble? I hate that. I hate the fact that there's too many people that are like all of a sudden, saying that was the top, whatever. I don't know. There's two ways this market could completely catch us off guard, and that is, I think, what's going to happen. Just as far as retail, right? So retail is probably expecting that we maybe continue maybe a decent amount lower, bounce, retest, and then come down. If we do bounce and retest right away, if it's just like that low right there, now we're looking at ES. So same thing if NQ just kind of comes and maybe bounces right from there, they will be looking for interesting, I guess. So yeah, that'd be really interesting. If ES actually takes that, it'll be taking these major lows right here. And if NQ, because we saw that size at the end of the day right there, if that ends up actually just being the low and then taking off, then there's our high time frame SMT, and we might actually just bid right from there. So that's very interesting. So I'm probably not going to watch NQ as much, just because tech just got absolutely annihilated. I'm going to care more about ES, because if anything, we're looking at a rotation, right? It's either that was the top or rotating. Those are the two possibilities right now. So if we're in rotation, this level is going to hold, and you're going to see ES really like lead the climb back up into next week. The thing that would catch the most traders off guard, or most retail, would be they're looking for a retest somewhere in here. They're going to be looking for wherever they can retest and fail. So, they'll be looking to bounce up there, maybe to the highs, bounce up, something like that. That's what they're looking for. What would catch them completely off guard is if we just right back up to the highs. That would just completely, annihilate some people. And then at that point, I think the market would have a really, like, a lot of the market would just be like, oh my God, invincible. We just had a crazy sell-off like that, and already we're back at the highs. This market can't go down. Like, whatever gets sellers in that mentality, I think is the best, honestly. I don't know if commitment of traders data has updated, honestly. I'm very interested to see. I think it's supposed to update at 3:30. So end of day. So yeah, I believe that should be the update, which is really, a minute change in contracts considering the size of sell-off that we have. When we come back Monday, I just want to double check to make sure that is the updated number. But if that's really the difference for our institutional asset managers, then, that tells you right there that that was not the top. We will see. And yeah, flow-wise, there was, it was a mix, honestly. There was a lot of puts that came in middle of the day, but towards the end of the day, it was actually a lot of calls. So yeah, not really sure. So that's one way that would catch completely off guard, right? Yeah, that would just wreck a lot of traders that would just be looking for a retest and to go down. The other way that this could completely catch everyone flat-footed is if there is almost no bounce. Is if you think that that's going to happen, then it just starts rejecting, and then we just freaking nuke it all the way down to, that's a little far maybe. We just nuke it, reject. So we dig into here, dig all the way down maybe to 7,300, come back and retest 7,350, reject 7,350, and then it's just like, Black Monday, something like sells down to there, then maybe down to like 70,040. There is some theories out there that that scam wick that happened, I think Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was Wednesday. It was a wick that literally went like 600 points to the downside. It was like that, basically. It was a little far. Essentially, it was like that. I think it was like right there. It was like 70.040. That's how far the wick went down. So there's some theory that, you know, that is like a data wick or something that is then now about to get filled. So that is the other way, is that you'll have a lot of traders wanting to look for a valid area to bounce, retest, and reject lower up here. And instead, it doesn't even do that. And sellers just completely take over and just dump it all the way down to this kind of crucial daily gap, 70.070 area right there. This is like make or break it for me. Once we end up down here, this will be a huge, like, are we continuing higher? Or are we going lower as far as like, is the bull market on or is it over? When we cross that region, if that holds and we continue higher, more highs in the equation. If it fails, it's over. It's done. That was the top. We'll see. But yeah, I think I'm going to be prepared for either or, either look for 73.50 to hold immediately. We just barely sweep into it and then you just see buyers take over and then just push higher. And, by the end of next week, we are like near highs again. That would just absolutely shock the market. And on the flip side, if there's almost no bounce at all and we just straight sell like Monday, Tuesday, that would be like a holy crap moment. And then at that point, let's say that happens really fast. Excuse me. Then we're right away looking at this kind of pivot zone of like, okay, what are we doing? We're going higher, we're going lower. Bear market in, or is it bull market? From there, that would be the direction you'd want to see right here, kind of. That's your key area right there. So, unfortunately, missed a large chunk of this Celtic, just caught a little bit, but I'm not going to complain about that amount of money. That's great money. Obviously, just when you see like over 1,000, and when you see a 500-point sell day, you dream about the amount of money you could have made. When you see a 1,000-point sell day, those are so rare. So obviously you're just like, oh my God, how many tens of thousands could that have been had I read it correctly? Anyways, that is just what I find interesting right now, is just the fact that we hit that 4 standard deviation. So yeah, that could really be it. It could just be, we could just see like the smallest dip Sunday and then just already back at the highs. Or we could just see a little dip and then immediate rejection and just sell Monday and just sell through the absolute floor, and both would catch traders off guard. On your typical NFP day, like it honestly, the probability, there's a way higher chance that it's gonna be an inside day, especially on a Friday. So that was another thing too. If you're an experienced trader, that Fridays are usually, mean reversion days, and on top of that, NFP, because of the amount of premium that's being traded, usually market makers like to keep it pinned. But the data was just too powerful. So today was definitely an outlier in that. And anyone planning for a big move made a lot of money. But yeah, I think, the seasoned trader in me wants to be like, don't take any trades right away at the start of the week. Because there'll probably be some aggressive chop and fight in between for, large traders, and as far as like what's going to happen next week. So yeah, you could do, honestly, safe bet. Yeah, you could wait it out. You could wait it out until middle of next week and just let the market show you essentially what it's going to do, and let it potentially chop out a lot of traders. Or you could just play aggressively off those levels and see if they hit and how they react, kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah, I wish I had a more clear vision, but I like that. It's way better to be reactionary and have plans in place for, if levels hold or fail. That has been like the rule of thumb for me as far as my best trading, is knowing where the levels are, watching how the interaction between buyers and sellers, seeing who wins, and then riding their coattails. That's the best method. So anyways, don't really have much more to add to that. I think, is the IPO next week? I can't remember. We'll see. If you're anyone on X that is telling you what's exactly is going to happen, don't listen to them. No one knows. It's completely up in there. It really, I see both sides. I like that I see both sides. I like that I'm not, telling or thinking in my head that I know what the market's going to do. Like I said last week, those are the worst case scenarios for me. When I actually trade, the worst is when you think you have it all figured out, but instead when you just watch level to level and just act accordingly. Just order flow. Go with the flow. Yeah, CBD here, pretty flat. So, lots of signs, especially this end and the real end of the day. So, like, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see you next week. But yeah, it should be exciting. I'm already excited for the weekend to be over, but I'm still gonna enjoy my weekend. So hopefully you guys do the same. Enjoy it and see you next week. Peace.